Welcome back to the Golfalot YouTube channel. It's a brand new year and we are going to be kicking off the year with some brand new drivers from Callaway. We have got our hands on the Callaway Paradym AI Smoke drivers and I was super excited to get my hands on these and test them out and see what they can do. Before we get into it, make sure that you're subscribed to the Golfalot YouTube channel so that you don't miss any videos from us in the future. Now, obviously, there was huge hype over the Paradym drivers last year, but now Callaway are making even bigger claims about what these drivers can do, including giving golfers up to 7 yards extra distance across the face with a new AI face that took over 50,000 iterations to get right. Interestingly as well, Callaway have also removed a key part of technology that we have seen in their drivers for years, which to me is a really interesting decision and made me really excited to get my hands on these and see what they can do. So every single year since 2017, Callaway have been using jailbreak technology in their drivers, and now it's just not there anymore. We're not seeing it in the AI Smoke drivers. And their reasoning behind this is they've said that the jailbreak technology adds that extra little bit of weight, and if they take that out, they can redistribute the weight across the club head, and doing this essentially just outweighs the gains that we were finding from the jailbreak technology. Now, I can understand the logic behind that, but to me, it's a really interesting move for them to be raving about this technology, talking about it every single year, putting it into every single one of their drivers, and suddenly it has just gone. Now, obviously, I'm not an expert at designing golf clubs, but it's just an interesting decision in my opinion, but I want to know what you guys think. Are you in the same boat as me? Did you like the jailbreak? Are you surprised to not see it in these clubs? Let me know down in the comments. Now, as I said earlier, Callaway have made the claim that with the AI Smoke drivers, golfers could see up to 7 yards extra distance across the club face. So this is because of a new AI smart face. Now, AI technology is something that we've seen before with the Callaway drivers, but what is a little bit different this year is they've taken the AI and they've combined it with real player data. So they took data from 250,000 golfers to develop a club face with what they're claiming to be multiple sweet spots across the face so that you can still get optimum speed, spin, and distance no matter where you strike it on the face. So there's 4 drivers in the range. We've got 3 of them today. So we've got the Max, the Triple Diamond, and the Max D. So going on to looks, Callaway has still really focused on this forged carbon design. Now the difference is that it is a lot more in your face with the AI Smoke range than we saw previously with Paradym. With the Paradym drivers, you'd maybe have to hold it at a certain light to actually see the forged carbon pattern coming in, whereas here they've really amplified that to make it a lot more visible both on the base of the club and on the crown of it as well. Personally, I quite like this design because of the coherence across it. Obviously, we've got this smoky pattern to it, which fits in well with the name, and to me, that just makes a nice overall collection for the drivers. However, I do appreciate that it's very out there, it is very in your face. It's not necessarily the exact design I would go for a perfect driver in my opinion, but I do still like it. However, I do think it's going to be a little bit more like Marmite and it's just going to divide a few opinions because it is so out there and so in your face. Now you guys are going to really want to stay tuned until the end of this video because one of these drivers I literally could not hit offline. This could potentially be the straightest driver I've ever hit. So on the golf course, I have to admit, when I first stood over the ball and I was looking at these clubs with the Max driver, I wasn't super keen on it. I liked the size of the head. I liked the size with the Max and the Max D. With the Triple Diamond, the head was a little bit too small for my liking. But I think with how in your face the carbon design is, it was just a little bit off-putting for me. I hadn't really been used to a driver like that before. And so I wasn't 100% sold on the drivers when we first took them out of the bag and first started hitting shots with them. Combining this with the fact that the first few shots I hit were on a tough hole, there was wind coming off from the left to the right and a big collection of trees over on the right hand side. So obviously not the ideal position for a lot of golfers. So on that first hole with the Max driver, what I found was that it was just pretty much starting off dead straight and just slightly tailing off to the right with the wind. So I didn't have any complaints there. other than, like I said, that little bit of new look to it with the carbon at the crown of the club. With the Max D, I was expecting to see a draw shot, as you would with that, but it was essentially just ending up straight because of the wind, which I was more than happy with, especially on that hole. I think if you're a golfer who imagine that scenario, it makes you really uncomfortable, you're not happy with that shot, you're worried about it going off to the right, the Max D driver could be a really good shout for you to try out, because it was just helping me keep that control, especially with that really harsh wind pulling the ball back over to the right-hand side. Now, going on to the Triple Diamond, unfortunately, I don't have quite so much positive things to say about it as I did with the Max and the Max D out on the course, because most of the time I was just hitting it off to the right, and I found myself a lot of the time in the trees, which obviously wasn't ideal. Now, the reasoning behind this is because the Triple Diamond is designed for somebody with a faster swing speed to get better ball strikes, and for me, I was just struggling a little bit with that because it's not designed for me. With that said, when I really went for it and I put my fastest possible swings onto it, I did find that I was getting a nice low straight ball flight, but that wouldn't be my normal swing and it wouldn't be how I would normally be approaching shots out on the golf course, so I wasn't feeling as though the Triple Diamond was quite the right club for me. So once we were happy that I'd got a grasp of these drivers out on the course, we then took them indoor to hooked so that we could use foresight to get a good idea of the numbers, the ball speeds, how far we were able to hit these clubs. So before we go into that, let's just make a note of what I would be expecting to see. Now, these drivers were a little bit on the heavy side for me, so my swing speed was at about 90 miles per hour. So for that, I would be looking to push ball speeds at about 130, getting a carry distance of around 210 and a total of 235. Those would be pretty good distances for me at that swing speed. So as you guys can probably tell, I wasn't 100% sold on these drivers, especially out on the course. I wasn't necessarily thinking they were the ideal drivers for me. It was only when we got over to hooked that one of them especially was performing really well, and I was really starting to get excited based on the numbers I was seeing from the foresight data. So let's talk about the Max driver and how well I was able to hit this indoor at hooked. Now, what was really impressive to me about this driver was how straight it was going consistently. If you imagine a par 4, short par 4, around that 230 yards, nearly every single time I would have ended up on the green because of how straight this was going. It was a case of about 95% of shots were literally going dead straight, with only one going out quite far to the right and one going out quite far to the left, but there was nothing in between that at all. And that equated to an average offline of only 4 yards from the center, which, to be honest, is pretty unbelievable. I have never seen that stat before with a driver, so this very well could be the straightest driver I have ever hit. In terms of distance, the Max driver was going an average carry of 208 yards and a total of 234 yards. Now, in terms of the dispersion between that, the distance dispersion was incredibly low for the Max driver. There was only a couple yards difference between each of my shots, including the ones that went slightly offline. So that is really showing how much that AI face is coming into play and making sure that I'm not losing any distance and the distance is nice and consistent amongst every type of shot that I'm hitting. Now, going on to the draw biased driver, the carry and total distances were almost exactly the same as what I was seeing with the Max. The only difference was that the total on average was going 2 yards shorter with the draw compared to the Max. However, some of the main differences I saw there was that the distance dispersion was a little bit bigger. I was seeing up to 6 yards difference on both the carry and the total, which just shows that the draw bias driver was that little bit more inconsistent. However, something that was really consistent, as you would probably expect with the draw driver, is that I just couldn't hit it right. Every single shot with it was going nicely off to the left with what looked to me to be the same shot shape every single time. So I was quite happy with that. I just preferred to see the distance dispersion with the Max driver instead. Going on finally to the Triple Diamond, as we mentioned earlier, that particular club is designed for somebody with a faster ball speed, and I was struggling to get a good strike going unless I was really swinging into it as fast as I could. Now what that meant was that I was seeing the ball speed a little bit higher with the Triple Diamond compared to the Max, and the draw bias with 3 miles per hour faster, and that did equate to some extra distance. So I was seeing the Triple Diamond going a carry of 211 yards and a total of 242 yards, which I was quite impressed with, and it does show that you can get that extra distance with the Triple Diamond, but the inconsistency was still there and I was still struggling to get a nice strike every single time. Something that was interesting though was that my spin rates were the lowest I've ever seen with a driver before, coming in at 1,810 RPM, which I've literally never ever seen before with a driver. So if you're looking for a low spin option, the Triple Diamond is definitely that. So let's do a little bit of a wrap up of everything we've said about the AI Smoke drivers. Now, if we compare them to the previous model, to the Paradym last year, I definitely think that there has been an improvement there in terms of the consistency and the accuracy. Like I said, the Max driver was potentially the straightest driver I have ever hit. So obviously some big improvements there from the previous Paradym model. Interestingly enough, I just wasn't sold on these drivers initially. I wasn't feeling super keen with them, but after giving them time and hitting enough shots, I was really impressed, especially with the Max driver. So one final thing that I know you guys will be wanting to hear about is how much do these drivers cost? Now, it's a little bit strange this year because we saw the Paradym being very expensive, really pushing the mark for the cost of a driver at £599 RRP last year. Now Callaway have come out with the AI Smoke range. They're saying it's better, it's got this new technology that's going to help you hit it straighter and be more consistent, but it's actually £30 cheaper, coming in with an RRP of £569. Now to me, that's just interesting, a little bit strange, a little bit hard to wrap my head around that they've decided to make a better driver, but they're lowering the price. So I don't know how you guys would be feeling. So if you did buy the Paradym last year and it was more expensive and now they've brought out a better one that's cheaper, it's just an interesting decision for me. Not sure how I feel about it. I'm not sure how you guys are going to be feeling about it, but it is that bit cheaper than the Paradym was last year. So that's been my review on the Callaway Paradym AI Smoke drivers. Hope you guys have all enjoyed it. If you have, make sure to drop a like on this video and also make sure that you're subscribed to the Golfalot YouTube channel so that you don't miss any videos from us in the future. As always, if you want to know more about any of these 3 drivers, you can find my full written reviews over on the Golfalot website. Thank you all for watching and subscribe for more.